You wake up. The street outside is silent. No cars, no voices, no birds even. You check your phone, no signal. You walk outside and call out, nothing answers. Every single human being on this planet, 8 billion people, is gone. Except you. No goodbyes. No explanation. Just silence. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what would happen to your body, your mind, and the entire planet, day by day, year by year, if you were the very last human alive on Earth. Some of it will scare you. Some of it might actually feel like freedom. But by the end of this video, you'll never look at normal life the same way again. Stick around till the end, because what happens to Earth 100 years after the last human disappears is something almost nobody has ever truly imagined. Let's begin with day one. The first thing you'd feel isn't fear, it's disbelief. You'd go house to house, car to car. Maybe you'd find half-eaten breakfasts on tables, phones still charging, TVs still playing static. Everyone vanished mid-moment, like the world hit pause and forgot to press play again. You'd try every number you know, every contact. Nothing. Psychologists who study isolation, submarine crews, solo sailors, polar researchers, say the first 24 to 48 hours of total isolation trigger something called social withdrawal shock. Your brain, wired for millions of years to live in groups, suddenly has no one to mirror, no one to talk to, no one to confirm that what you're seeing is real. You might talk to yourself just to hear a human voice. That's not crazy. That's your brain trying to survive. By nightfall, the silence becomes the loudest thing you've ever heard. And this is just hour one of a world you'll have to learn to live in completely alone. After the shock fades, your brain switches gears. Survival instinct takes over. Food becomes priority number one. Grocery stores are now yours. Every shelf, every fridge. But here's the catch. Refrigeration depends on electricity, and most power grids without human maintenance start failing within days to a few weeks. Water is next. City water systems need pumps and treatment, also powered by electricity. Once the grid goes down, that water stops being safe. You'd need to relearn skills humanity forgot the moment supermarkets existed. Finding clean water, preserving food, starting a fire without a lighter. Within a week, you're not living in civilization anymore. You're living in the wilderness. It just happens to have skyscrapers in it. And the strange part? Many survival experts say the physical challenges are actually the easier part. The real test is what happens to your mind next. Here's something most people don't expect. Total isolation doesn't just make you lonely. It can change how your brain actually works. Studies on solitary confinement and extreme isolation show that after just a few weeks without human contact, people begin to experience hallucinations, seeing movement in empty rooms, hearing voices that aren't there. Your brain, starved of normal social input, starts generating its own. Time perception breaks down too. Without other people to anchor your sense of days and weeks, time can feel like it's stretching or collapsing. Some isolated researchers in Antarctica have reported losing track of entire days. You might start talking to objects, naming things, inventing routines just to create the illusion of structure. This isn't weakness, it's literally how the human brain is built. We are not designed to be alone. We are designed to be witnessed, heard, and responded to. And as the last human, that need would never be satisfied again. By around 30 days, most cities go dark, permanently. Power plants need constant human oversight. Coal and gas plants need fuel delivered. Nuclear plants are designed to fail safely without humans, automatically shutting down. Without anyone running the systems, the entire electrical grid collapses within weeks. This means no more refrigeration, no more pumped water, no more elevators, no more streetlights. Cities that once glowed at night from space go completely black. You'd now be living by candlelight, firelight, or whatever solar setup you could build yourself. Cars still work for a while, until the gas degrades or batteries die, But eventually, every mode of transportation faster than walking or biking disappears. The modern world, with all its conveniences, was never actually self-sufficient. It needed millions of hands constantly maintaining it behind the scenes. Remove the hands and the whole system crumbles in a matter of weeks. You are now, quite literally, living in the ruins of a civilization that used to be yours. While humanity disappears, something else begins. Nature wakes up. Within the first few months, weeds crack through sidewalks. Grass overtakes lawns. Animals that once avoided cities, deer, foxes, even predators, start wandering into empty streets, no longer afraid of human presence. Scientists who study abandoned places like the Chernobyl exclusion zone have seen this firsthand. Within just a few years of human absence, wildlife populations can explode. Wolves, birds, and even large mammals return to areas humans once dominated. For you, this means the world starts feeling less like a city and more like a forest with buildings in it. It would be eerie, but also breathtakingly beautiful. Imagine seeing wild horses gallop through what used to be a highway, or a hawk nesting on top of a skyscraper. The planet isn't waiting for permission to heal. The moment we're gone, it begins immediately. By the 1-year mark, you've either adapted or you haven't survived at all. Let's assume you have. You've found a sustainable water source, maybe a spring or a method to purify rainwater. You've learned basic agriculture, perhaps growing food in greenhouses or fertile soil nearby. You've figured out shelter that doesn't depend on a power grid. This is where humans become incredibly resourceful. Our species spent over 95% of its history living exactly like this, without electricity, supermarkets, or technology. The skills are dormant in our collective knowledge, even if most of us forgot them. But there's a psychological cost. A full year without hearing another human voice changes you. Researchers studying long-term isolation say identity itself can start to blur. Without anyone to reflect you back, the sense of "who am I" becomes strangely abstract. You'd remember names you'll never say to a real person again, faces only you can picture. Surviving the world is one battle. Surviving yourself is another. Let's zoom out from you for a moment and look at the cities you left behind. Without humans, buildings don't last as long as people assume. Water leaks from broken pipes start eroding foundations within just a few years. Without anyone maintaining roofs, rain gets in, mold spreads, and wood structures begin rotting. Engineers estimate that without maintenance, most wooden homes would start collapsing within 50 years. Steel and concrete skyscrapers last longer, maybe a couple hundred years. But eventually, rust, weathering, and shifting ground bring even the tallest structures down. Bridges, tunnels, and subways flood and crumble far faster than people expect. Some experts say major cities like New York could see significant subway flooding within just days of pumps shutting off. Everything humans built to feel permanent, the towers, the highways, the monuments, is, on a planetary timescale, temporary. You, as the last human, would get a front row seat to watching an entire civilization slowly return to dust. This is the question that would haunt you more than any other. Is there really no one else? Realistically, in this scenario, the answer is no. That's the premise. But your brain wouldn't accept that easily. You'd scan radio frequencies for hours. You'd watch the horizon for smoke from a fire that isn't yours. You'd leave messages in visible places, just in case. This kind of hope, searching for connection against impossible odds, is deeply human. It's the same instinct that drives search and rescue teams to keep looking long after logic says to stop. Psychologists call this anticipatory loneliness, when the brain refuses to fully accept permanent isolation, because doing so feels like giving up entirely. Eventually, most people in extreme isolation studies report a strange shift. The hope doesn't disappear, but it transforms. It becomes quieter, less of a daily ache, more of a background hum you learn to carry. You wouldn't stop hoping, you just learn to survive while hoping. Here's something fascinating. Who you are might actually shift over time. Personality isn't just something inside you. A huge part of it is shaped by social feedback. The jokes you make depend on someone laughing. Your confidence depends on someone noticing. Without anyone to respond to you, many of these traits would have nothing to reinforce them. Some isolation researchers describe long-term solitary survivors becoming quieter, more observant, even more connected to nature and animals. Almost like the social mask we all wear simply dissolves when there's no one left to perform it for. You might become someone almost unrecognizable to your old self. Not worse, not better, just different, stripped down to whatever is left when there's no audience at all. In a strange way, being the last human might be the only time anyone has ever discovered who they truly are, without any outside influence whatsoever. By year 5, survival is no longer a daily crisis. It's simply your life. You've likely built a stable routine, growing your own food, collecting and purifying water, maybe even domesticating an animal or two for companionship and help. Dogs, known for bonding with humans for over 15,000 years, would likely be your most loyal company in this new world. Your shelter has probably moved from abandoned building to something you built yourself, smaller, smarter, easier to maintain without modern tools. Wildlife around you has changed too. Animals that once feared humans now see you as just another creature in the landscape. Sometimes curious, sometimes indifferent, occasionally dangerous if you're not careful. You've essentially built a tiny one-person civilization from scratch. No internet, no money, no laws except the ones you choose to live by. It's lonely, but it's also, in its own strange way, simpler than the world ever was before. 2 decades after humanity disappeared, the planet looks almost alien compared to what it once was. Major cities are now overtaken by forests growing through collapsed roads. Former farmland has reverted to wild grassland or woodland, since nothing is being cultivated anymore. Rivers and lakes, no longer polluted by industrial activity, run clearer than they have in centuries. Animal populations that were once endangered due to human expansion would have dramatic room to recover. Species that nearly vanished because of habitat loss could begin repopulating regions humans once occupied entirely. For you, now in your later years, if this began in adulthood, the world you grew up in exists only in your memory. Every younger generation that should have been born to remember modern civilization simply never existed. You become the last living memory of an entire era of human history. Skyscrapers, smartphones, music, art, all of it living only inside your mind. Of everything lost, technology, comfort, convenience, what would actually hurt the most? Almost universally, people who have experienced extreme isolation say it's not the technology they miss. It's small, human moments. Someone laughing at something you said, a hand on your shoulder, being recognized by name when you walk into a room. It's not the internet you'd long for. It's the feeling of mattering to someone else, of being seen, even briefly, by another conscious mind that understands you the way only another human truly can. This is the part of being the last human that no survival skill can fix. You can learn to grow food, build shelter, purify water, but there is no substitute for human connection. None. It's the one resource that, once gone, cannot be replaced by knowledge, willpower, or time. Now let's look beyond your own lifetime to 100 years after the last human vanished. By this point, nearly every trace of modern civilization has been swallowed by nature. Steel skeletons of buildings stand rusted and collapsing, wrapped in vines. Roads have cracked apart, replaced by forest floor. Most electronics have long since corroded into uselessness. Animal life, both wild and formerly domesticated, has adapted to a planet without human interference. Predator and prey populations rebalance naturally, the way they did for millions of years before humans dominated the landscape. Some structures, massive concrete dams, certain monuments, deeply buried infrastructure, might still remain, weathered but recognizable, for centuries longer. But the loud, fast, electric world we built? Within just a century, it would already be little more than fading scars on a planet quietly returning to a version of itself older than humanity ever was. So here's the question. This whole scenario was really asking, what does it mean to be human when there's no one left to share it with? Civilization isn't really buildings or technology, it's people. Billions of small connections, conversations, glances, and shared moments that together create something we call the world. Remove the people, and surprisingly fast, almost nothing of that world remains. Being the last human wouldn't just be a physical survival story, it would be the ultimate test of what truly matters when everything else is stripped away. And the answer, again and again, comes back to one thing: each other. So maybe the real lesson isn't about the apocalypse at all. Maybe it's a reminder, right now, today, while you're not alone, to actually appreciate the people around you, the ones who annoy you, the ones who text too much, the ones you take for granted. Because in the end, they're not just people in your life. They might be the only thing standing between you and a silent, empty world. If this video made you think differently, even for a second, make sure to subscribe, because next time we're exploring an even stranger what if.